Hey guys, and welcome back to another video, and in this one we're going to be starting a brand new franchise rebuild for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, I know I'm in the middle of a Miami Marlins rebuild on the channel, but because that one's a little bit longer, I felt as though, it'd be better to break it up, start another one, and then go back and finish that one in a video or two. So we will go back and finish the Marlins fairly soon, but for right now we're going to start up the Arizona Diamondbacks. And this is a team that, it's an interesting team. They're in an interesting position, I feel like, because they could really go either way. A lot of people feel as though they will or they should take a step back and rebuild, maybe trade a Paul Goldschmidt. And some people feel as though they're just really a few signings, a few moves away from going back to the playoffs, maybe holding on to Goldschmidt, build around him. And honestly, that's kind of the side of the picture that I'm on. And that's what we're going to be trying to do. Now, in the 2018 season, they were a decent team. Unfortunately, they weren't able to finish off the season strong. So the Dodgers and the Rockies did surpass them, of course, and this year they missed out on the playoffs. But we're going to be trying to get them back to the playoffs, trying to build up the team to be in a position where they're consistently winning, consistently in a postseason race, and hopefully trying to hold on to Paul Goldschmidt, I can't say his name, because he does, not only is he a really good, really talented player who's almost every year one of the top MVP candidates, but, in this game he also progresses fairly well, develops fairly well, or stays at the rating he's at right now for quite a while. So we will, in a sense, be trying to rebuild around him, but not just him. We're going to be trying to make the team overall better. There are a couple moves that I'd like to make, a couple areas that we'd like to address. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to jump in here and let's get started with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So to start off, we're going to be taking a look at the roster and how it's been constructed to start the season. Now, there really are two areas on this team that I feel are the biggest needs to address, and those are the bullpen and the middle infield, so second base and shortstop. Now for the bullpen, we got Bradley, Chafin, and Delgado as really the three guys that I'm most comfortable with. Bradley is definitely capable of being our closer, as I do believe he is the closer for the Diamondbacks in real life, so he can definitely handle that position. Now Diekman and Boxberger are two guys that I'm a little unsure about. I feel like in this game they're pretty inconsistent with their performances, so we may look to move one, if not both of them. And then we have Hirano and Ziegler, who are a little bit older, that we're probably going to look to cut ties with. And McFarland is not someone that we're going to necessarily look to move just yet, but he probably won't make the Major League roster. I feel like he's a little bit better than his overall suggests, especially with that clutch attribute. So we're probably going to wait and see how he performs, which will then dictate what we do with him moving forward. But in strengthening this bullpen, one thing we need to make sure to address is bringing in one, if not two, lefties, since we will most likely be moving on from Diekman. And then in the starting rotation, we have Corbin, Ray, and Walker, who are all still pretty young, good potential, so they still have a lot of room to develop. So they're definitely going to be three pitchers that we're going to look to rely on in this rotation, probably for the next several years. Now Buchholz is someone we're going to look to move most likely, as well as Greinke. But with Greinke, it's more due to the salary that he has on his contract that we're going to be trying to look to save, because we want to be able to have enough payroll flexibility to make some signings moving forward and to make some trades moving forward to better this team, and especially to try to re-sign Goldschmidt at the end of the season, because he is going to be a free agent and is going to demand a pretty big salary. Behind them, though, we have guys like Andrius, Godley, Miller, and De La Rosa, who any four of them could really, fill in a role in the starting rotation if need be. They could fill in the bullpen if we're a shorter guy, or we may look to move them through a trade. I think the four of them, their role on this team is really going to be dependent on the trades that we make and who exactly we bring in and what areas we still need to fill once the season begins. But moving on to the offense and the position players, we have Avila and Murphy at catcher, who are going to probably be platooning at least to start the season. But that is a position that within the next year or so we definitely want to look to upgrade if possible. Goldschmidt, of course, is going to be at first base, and we're going to probably look to re-sign him after the season is over. And then at second base we have Marte, who, like Ahmed at short, is, I'm a little unsure about them starting for us. We may look to upgrade at those positions like I mentioned at the beginning. But exactly what we do with these two players, whether we move them in a trade or just have them more in a bench role, I'm still not too sure about. We have Escobar here, who does play second, third, and short, so he is a solid player, and he does bring that versatility, which gives us a few options to play with when we want to look to potentially upgrade at second and short. So that is nice to have. Lamb is someone who has been a pretty decent player in the past and definitely still has the potential to be that moving forward, and he has the time to develop as he is only 27. But for right now, he's really only looking pretty effective against righties, so he may just be in a bench role or a platoon role moving forward. Descalso is someone who, again, is going to be a nice bench piece for us, but probably won't be on the team for too long. We may look to move on from him sooner than later. In the outfield, we have Peralta, Pollock, and Souza Jr. all as our starting three, who I'm pretty comfortable with, at least for this season. And behind them, we have Dyson, who's pretty defensive and speed-oriented, lacking a little bit offensively. We have Owings, who's very versatile and a pretty a decent offensive player. And then, of course, Jon Jay, whose overall and potential don't really look too good, but he's got some solid contact, he's got a decent eye at the plate, solid clutch, and he's a good fielder. So the three of them are going to be our bench depth pieces, who, again, all three of them are guys that we could probably look to move on from at some point. As to when that may be, I'm not exactly sure just yet, so again, we're kind of going to have to feel things out as we go and make some moves depending on what we need and how players are performing. Now, we do have a decent amount of prospects in this organization. For the pitching, we have Duke Plantier, who's 23 A potential, Widener, who's 23 B potential, and Tabor, who's 19 MB potential. So those guys could play a part for us on this team moving forward. And then offensively, we have a guy at catcher who is Varsho, who's 21 B potential. First base, we have Smith, who's 22 B potential. Ellis at third base, who's 22 B potential. At shortstop, we have Chisholm and Leyba, who are in their early 20s B potential. And then in the outfield, we have Marcus Wilson, Jake McCarthy, and Socrates Brito in right, who are all as well still pretty young with B potential. So we do have a decent amount of guys there that could develop and play parts on this team for us moving forward, or they could be useful in a trade. Now, like I mentioned, we do want to make a few moves before the season starts, especially for bullpen and the middle infield. We do want to probably look to address the vacancies in the starting rotation if we move Buchholz and Greinke, and possibly look to upgrade a little bit in the depth area of the outfield. Maybe get someone who can back up at first base if we need them. But there are a few areas of need that we could address at some point moving forward. But the biggest two, of course, are the middle infield and the bullpen. So I'm going to go look for trades. I have a couple in mind that I've kind of looked for. So I'm going to see what I can find there, see if we can get anything good. When I find something, I'll meet you guys at that trade screen, and we'll go over all the moves that we're going to be making to make this team a little bit better and hopefully have them as more of a consistent playoff-bound team moving forward. Alright guys, so the first trade that I was able to find is going to be with the Yankees, and we are going to be moving on from Zack Greinke, Nick Ahmed, and a starting pitcher who is lower rated in our organization in Joel Payamps. I'm not sure about that last name, but we are going to be receiving J.A. Happ, as well as Miguel Andujar and Didi Gregorius, who is coming back to the Diamondbacks. Now, we were aiming for Hechavarria, but I added in Ahmed and the starting pitcher, and we were able to get Gregorius, who is just as good defensively, pretty much, and definitely better on the offensive side of his game. So that's going to be a nice pickup for us at short. We're also going to be receiving Miguel Andujar, who does struggle defensively, and I'm a little bit worried about that, but because he's so young and he's got good potential, he has a lot of time to develop, and hopefully he can develop defensively as well. But he is already, at this point, a pretty decent offensive player, though I would like to see him develop a little bit more there as well. But again, a very nice pickup to be getting. And of course, with J.A. Happ, we're bringing in a nice middle of the rotation type of pitcher. And depending on our other pitchers in the organization, you know, he might have a higher spot in that rotation, but it is only going to be for 1 year, as his contract is up at the end of this season. And due to his age, we're really not looking to hold on to him for much longer anyway. So that is going to be the first trade. We still need to look to help out the bullpen a little bit, so we're going to be addressing that soon as well. But as for the next trade, I'm going to see what I can find, and I'll meet you guys back at this screen. So the second trade that we're going to be making is with the Texas Rangers for Alex Claudio, who is 26, beat potential 81. He is a lefty. He's got pretty decent overall attributes. So he definitely would be a nice upgrade for this bullpen, and since he's a lefty, that makes it even better. We are going to be making a 1-for-1 trade. We're going to be sending over Matt Koch, who is a starting pitcher a little bit lower in our organization, because we do have a lot of guys up here. But we're going to be sending over Matt Koch, who's B potential 27, 64 overall. So overall, I do think this is going to be a very good trade for us. It's really going to help us out, hopefully, in the bullpen, as Claudio does have a decent amount of potential, and we're really not going to have much use for Koch at the major league level. So the third trade that we're going to be making is for Taylor Rogers, who's a left-handed reliever from the Minnesota Twins. I do believe I picked him up in a trade in the Orioles rebuild that I did, but you know, he's a really solid arm to have in that bullpen, and having another lefty really helps us out. And, you know, it really helps us not to rely solely on that one guy. But Rogers, with his contract situation, he still has another year of renewability after this season. So in terms of salary, it's really helpful to us as well. So this is a really good pickup for us, a really nice fit. And in return, we're going to be sending over Jake Diekman, Braden Shipley, who is, you know, he's 26, but he's an A potential. He's only a 57, so he's really not going to be on the major league roster for us at any point. And then to get the deal to go through, we added in Jasrado Chisholm, who is the shortstop prospect, one of them that I mentioned when we were looking at the roster. He's a B potential 63 overall, but we do have Leba right behind him, so I'm not really too worried about moving on from him. So again, this deal should really help us out. It's a really nice fit, like I mentioned, and it's good to get that second lefty, second very reliable lefty into the bullpen for us. So yeah, like I mentioned, hopefully this deal really helps us out. I don't think we're going to be making another trade. If we do, of course, I'll meet you guys at this screen, though we do still have Buchholz on the team, who I was planning on trading, but he is an 81 overall, so it's not like it's a necessity to get done. So yeah, as long as we don't make another trade, I will probably meet you guys at the draft next, and get started on the regular season. Hopefully we left the team, or we have the team in a better place than where we started so far, and we're going to be able to get to that postseason and get this team in a more consistent winning position, like I mentioned. So yeah, I'll meet you guys at the draft in just a moment, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the results of the draft were not very good. Again, I'm not the best at drafting players, so what I tend to do is just sign the best scouts that I can, and then let the CPU handle the rest, which is what I did this time as well. But, you know, to cut time on the video a little bit, we are just going to be going over the guys that we offered contracts to, and in this case it is just two players. The first of which is left fielder Perry Daniels, who's 20 years old, 73 potential, so C potential. He's a 59 overall right now. He is decent offensively, and he does have room, obviously, to develop, even though he's only a C potential. He may not hold too much value right now if we want to use him in a trade or something, but hopefully he can develop a little bit more offensively and definitely defensively. Maybe in the future he can get that potential up to a B. The second player that we got was a first baseman in Danny Price, who's 21. He's an 86 potential, so B potential. 52 overall right now, a little bit lower than Daniels was, but he does have more potential, and so hopefully he can develop and get those skills up. Defensively, he is pretty good, but that's really the only area right now that he has decent ratings in. Overall, he really needs time to develop. So neither one of these players is really expected, in my opinion, to make an appearance on our team at the Major League roster. Hopefully they can have some value in trade if we need to use them there. But for the most part, I don't really think we're going to be seeing these guys in this rebuild. Two things of note that I want to bring up, though. In the standings, we have moved up overall, not in the standings, in the team rankings, we have moved up 4 spots to 7th overall. We are first place in the division so far, 1 game ahead of the Dodgers, so that's really nice. So far we're having a pretty good overall year for the team. And then one thing that I wanted to bring up, one note on the season so far, kind of a highlight, is on May 22nd, I wrote it down, we had Clay Buchholz throw a no-hitter, and his ERA at the time was 1.38. So that is a really nice surprise, actually, to see, because we were planning on trading him before the season started, and it's not like he was a bad pitcher or anything. He was an 81 overall. I think now he's an 84. And his ERA has gone up a little bit since, but we were looking to trade him, and he's kind of, we unexpectedly held on to him, and he's really been a nice surprise for us this season. So hopefully he can keep that going. Hopefully we as a team can keep this going and really do well and make it to the postseason. The next thing that I'm going to be going over is, it might not be the All-Star break. I might just update you guys at the trade deadline, and when I do, I will go over anything that I feel like needs to be brought up from the All-Star break, or kind of just how the team is doing overall before we make or after we make the trades. So the next screen I'll meet you at is for the trade deadline, and anything of note I will let you guys know. But until then, we're going to keep going in this season and hopefully continue playing well and stay in first place in our division. Alright guys, so it is the trade deadline. Before we get into the trades, just a few things to update you guys with. First of all, we are still in first place, 2.5 games up on the Dodgers, who are not quite a bit, but I think that's about 6 games up on the Brewers for the first wildcard spot. I had to do the math in my head there. But we are still 8th overall in team rankings, so that's really nice to see. We're still, continuing playing well. Just got to go through the last 2 months, and hopefully we can hold our ground here. A few things to note. For the All-Stars, we actually had a couple of them. We had Buchholz actually made the All-Star team along with Pollock and Peralta. That's really it. As for league leaders, I think we have Ray, the starting pitcher, is 2nd in strikeouts, and Bradley is actually leading all of baseball in saves with 42 at the end of July. So he's got a chance to break the single season record here. So that's going to be cool to watch. Now, a couple things to note, negative things, I guess. One is J.A. Happ is not having a great year. We may look to move him in a trade. Or maybe not things to note, but players that we might be looking to move. So J.A. Happ is one of them, not having the best of years. Another one is Chafin, who I forgot to mention is a lefty. So I was looking for 2 lefties in the beginning of the year, but I forgot Chafin was actually a lefty. But that might work out because we're probably going to be looking to move him as well. He's trending down a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily go by that since he is only 27, but he's really not playing that well either. So we may look to move him and get another righty in the bullpen. Trying to think, Avila's not having the best of years, but we may wait to wait. We may wait until the end of the year to upgrade at catcher. Goldschmidt is, I didn't see him on the All-Star team. I was a little surprised at that, but he's not really having a crazy year. And I noticed he is trending down quite a bit, especially in the power department. So, I'm not really sure if that's going to continue or if it's going to kind of level out. So that is something we want to watch as the year winds down, in terms of, signing him a big contract. Because I don't really want to do that if he is going to be trending down so soon. So again, that is something we want to keep an eye out for. And I'm thinking if there's anything else of note here. Escobar's average is, pretty low, so that's not really good to see. But other than that, he's having a nice year. For the most part, everyone is having a solid year. We did make one move in sending Dyson down, who was really just struggling, wasn't even hitting 200 at the major league level. We called up Brito. We added him to the 40-man roster. Called him up to be a bench piece for an outfield position. And then Jay is not really doing too great here either. He hasn't really declined too much. So, I still want to hold on to him for the moment on the major league roster. I know I chose him over Dyson. I may, swap that at some point as the year progresses if Jay still continues to do poorly. We also have to see if Brito does well in the major leagues, because we also have Owings down there, who really isn't playing too well in AAA, but he's another option to call up in the outfield. But in trades, we may look to grab another outfielder to play on the bench. We may, we are going to look to probably move Chafin and get another right-handed reliever, potentially another starter. And that really should be it. If I come across a decent catcher, I may pick him up. But that should be it. I mean, those are the main points of note. So we're going to start to look into some of the potential trades that are out there. And once I find any that are in my opinion, good moves to make that are going to better the team down the stretch, and in the future, I will meet you guys at that screen and we'll go over the moves then. But until then, just hold tight, and I'm going to go look and see if we can find any decent trades. So we found a trade here with the Cubs, and it's really addressing two areas of need that we wanted to address in the relief pitching and the outfield help. So we are going to be picking up Steve Cishek, who is having a pretty good season for them. ERA under 2.5 in 40 innings. He's saving a few games here and there. He's having a nice year, and I'm hoping he can keep that level of play up at least just through this year. Because he would be a nice addition if he can to our bullpen and really do a good job in solidifying it. And the second guy that we pick up is going to be Kyle Schwarber, who plays outfield. He is a catcher, of course. The only thing is, I was going to have him platoon maybe with Souza Jr., but they're both good versus, or better versus righties. So I'm not really sure, how that would work. One idea that I'm not 100% on yet is I could put Schwarber in as a catcher versus right-handed pitchers, because Avila is struggling, and he is the guy that we have against righties. So that is an idea. The only thing, Schwarber is not the best fielder, even though he is developing a little bit more in that area, both in real life and in the game right now. So, that is an idea that we could look to make. So, I don't know. We're going to work him into the lineup in some way, because his bat is too good not to have in the lineup. Now, in return to the Cubs, we're going to be sending over Andrew Chafin, of course, who I was looking to trade. We're also going to be sending over Jon Duplantier, who is that, top prospect that we have in our team in the starting rotation. But we have a decent amount of guys here that are solid pitchers, so I do feel okay sending him over. Plus, we do have Widener behind him, not too far off, and Tabor down here a little bit further, or Taber, however you say his name. But we're also going to be adding, to make the deal go through, a left fielder in Evan Marzilli, who's 27 seat potential, 67 overall. He's not even on the 40-man roster. So this is hopefully going to be a nice deal for us. I know it does put our salary up a bit, couple million, but you know, we're hoping that this can definitely help out our team, not only now but in the future, especially with Schwarber. So that is going to be the deal. We may look to make one more to potentially address the starting rotation, but you know, depending on what I can find. So this is most likely going to be the last trade that we make on the season, and it is going to be to acquire Nathan Eovaldi from the Red Sox, who is having a very nice season with a 3.16 ERA. Not quite as good as he's done in the postseason in real life to help the Red Sox win that World Series, but still very good nonetheless. I am a little nervous because in the past, every time I pick him up, he tends to be a little inconsistent and doesn't necessarily perform very well. But I don't think the risk is too high here in what we're giving away or sending back to the Red Sox in return for Eovaldi, because we are going to be sending 3 players. One is Happ, who of course is not really doing too well for us this year, and he is trending down quite a bit. The other 2 players are going to be Cody Reed, 22 seat potential, 59 overall, and Pavin Smith, a first baseman, 22 B potential, 61 overall, both of which you know, regardless of their potential, I don't really think that they're going to have enough time to develop into a, you know, contributing player at the major league level for us during this rebuild. So I am okay with trading them away to pick up Eovaldi. And also, if Eovaldi does struggle a bit, you know, he is in the last year of his contract, so we obviously don't have to re-sign him. But yeah, this is most likely going to be the last trade that we make here. Hopefully everything together is enough to get this team to the playoffs, hopefully enough to keep them in that top spot in the division, and with some of the guys that we picked up, maybe put them in a better position moving forward into the future as well. So yeah, I'm gonna meet you guys next at the end of the year, and we'll kind of go over how everybody did this year, where the team stands, and then we'll move into the postseason if we make it. Which we should be, because we are in pretty good shape right now with almost 30 games over 500. But yeah, that should be it, and I will see you guys at the end of the year. Alright, so it's the end of the year, and the Diamondbacks have won the NL West, beating the Dodgers by 1 game. So the Dodgers and Rockies actually made the 2 wildcard spots, so there's a lot of NL West teams going to the postseason this year. We did go up another rank in the overall team rating, so that's really nice to see. We are 6th now, so getting higher and higher, so getting better and better. So we are going to go into the roster now and just go over what everybody did, but a few things to note real quickly were that Archie Bradley led the league and led the majors, I think, in saves with 59. He also won the Delivery of the Man of the Year award, and Escobar actually won the Gold Glove for third baseman. I don't think there was anybody else who led in any categories in the league leaders. I think Goldschmidt was near the top in batting average. I think Ray was near the top in strikeouts, and Buchholz was near the top in ERA. But nobody else really had any like areas that they were, you know, outstanding in. I actually think Pollock was near the top in batting average as well, hitting 307, and Peralta, 303. They were both higher than Goldschmidt. But yeah, a couple nice seasons by some players, more than a couple actually. A lot of players had nice seasons. Not too many had too bad of a year. So overall, a very nice year by the Diamondbacks, a nice team effort. Now into each player and what they did. Andres, we'll just go over the 25-man roster, or any guys who aren't necessarily on it right now, but were there for a significant part of the season. So Matt Andres was in the bullpen. He had not the best of years, but not a terrible year. His ERA was a little bit lower through, I think, the trade deadline, so didn't really have that great of a second half. But hopefully, he's only 28. He has dropped to below the other 3 guys down here in Miller, Godley, and De La Rosa. So I'm not really sure what his role is going to be moving forward. But as for right now, he is on the 25-man roster. So not the best year for him. Eovaldi definitely kept up his level of play. His ERA went up a little bit in the last 2 months, but he pitched pretty well for us down the stretch with a 3.33 ERA. Taijuan Walker had a very nice season, 3.5 ERA. His whip was 1.3, 14 wins. So he's still developing. He's actually gone up about 8 overall points. Buchholz, of course, we know had that nice surprise season here with a 2.64 ERA, almost 200 innings, a nice whip, 13 wins to go along with it. Robbie Ray had, not the best year, I guess, with ERA, but overall a nice year. You would have liked to see that ERA come down a little bit, and hopefully it will moving forward. He's not necessarily, I wasn't really expecting him to have too low of an ERA, but that is a little bit higher than I'd like to see. So hopefully he can turn that around moving forward. And Corbin, of course, had a very nice season, 3.05 ERA with 217 strikeouts, over 200 innings, and 12 wins to go along with it. Moving to the bullpen, we have Bradley, of course, who had that shutdown year at the back of our bullpen, 2.22 ERA, 59 saves. Taylor Rogers had a nice year with a 2.41 ERA in 78 innings. Claudio, a 2.28 ERA in about 60 innings. And Delgado, an ERA of 3 in 84 innings. So a very nice year by the bullpen for the most part. And that even continues into the closing pitchers here, or who are listed as closing pitchers. And Cishek with a 3.3 ERA. So it did go up from when we acquired him from the Cubs, but still a very, very nice season for him. And the same for Boxberger, who I was a little unsure about to start the year. I almost traded him, but he came out and he had a nice year for us with a 3.6 ERA. Moving on to the offensive players here, we got Avila, who did not have the best year, barely over 200 for his average. Just did not have a good year, not what we expected to see from him. Murphy had a nice one though, 70 hits, 13 homers, hit 264, on base over 300. So he had a nice year in a backup or platoon role for catchers. Goldschmidt, not as good of a year as we thought he'd have. He is trending down, so again, that is something we really want to pay attention to because, especially versus lefties, which was his better, better side, you can say, and who he hit. That's really dropping. So that is a little concerning. We may just look to sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, see if he can, turn that around at all, or if it levels out. Because I definitely, if he's declining, I definitely don't want to be stuck putting him on a very large contract. Moving on from him, we have Marte, who had a nice year on the bench for us, 64 hits, hit almost 280. Descalso did not play. Moving on to third base, we got Andujar, who had a nice rookie year, 26 homers, hit 263, so not too bad. Some of these guys, you'd like to see their on-base go up a little bit more, but overall, very nice year. Escobar, his average was pretty low. He did lose some points in the contact areas there, so that's a little concerning, though he hasn't really dropped overall. He had 22 homers, so that was good to see. Won the Gold Glove, so his fielding was there. It's just his average definitely dropped a little bit more than we'd like to see, or it was a little bit lower than we'd like to see. Jake Lamb is trending upwards, though he didn't have the best of seasons. He was on the bench, so we weren't expecting a whole lot, but that average is a little low again. Although he has a nice on-base percentage for the time that he played. So, good thing to see him trending up. So he did move up about 5 points overall. Gregorius had a decent year. Average was a little bit low, but other than that, he had a very nice season. Good all the way around. He didn't really, I don't know. No, I guess it was to be expected. Decent year for Gregorius. I was going to say he had a little too many errors, but looking back at previous years, kind of was around the same. Moving on from there to the outfield, we got Jay, who did not really perform very well in a limited amount of play time. Probably won't be back next year. Dyson, he picked it up a little bit when he came back up in September. We did send him down when we acquired Schwarber, so he did actually end the year with 5 homers. He got back up over the 200 mark, so maybe we'll keep him as a depth piece. I'm not really sure at this point, but he finished the season strong. Owings came up and had a little bit of playing time, though didn't really do too well. Now moving on to the starters, or not the starters, the guys on the Major League roster in the outfield right now. We have Schwarber, who didn't really perform that well, especially with his average. He only hit 8 homers. I'm not really sure how much he played down the stretch, but we definitely want to get him in a little bit more moving forward. But yeah, he's still on the Major League roster, of course. He's a good player. He's still going to develop, so I'm not really worried about him. Peralta had a very nice year. He had homers, 27, over 100 RBIs, hitting over 300. So very nice year for Peralta. Really nice to see. And the same goes for Pollock. Both of them kind of outperformed what I expected to see from them. Though Pollock had 26 homers, 87 RBIs, over 300 average. Very nice on base. So he had a very nice year as well. And then, of course, we have Souza Jr., who didn't do quite what he did last year in the power department, but he really outperformed himself on the average side of things. So, very nice year, kind of evened himself out there a little bit. So a nice year for Souza Jr. And then Brito came up around the trade deadline, I believe, or actually maybe before that? I can't remember. But in the time that he had playing, he did perform well. I know it wasn't a lot of playing time, but he did come up and do nicely. So he's most likely going to be in a bench role for us next year at the Major League level. So that really does it for the team. Overall, very nice year as a team, and very nice year for the majority of the players as just individual seasons. So we're going to move on to the postseason now. We're going to see who won the wild card game. So the Dodgers beat the Rockies and the Yankees beat Seattle. So we have Arizona and Washington, Dodgers and the Cubs, Cleveland and Houston Astros, and the Yankees versus Boston. So moving on to the division series, we're going to go up against the Washington Nationals, and hopefully, nope, we're down 0-2. All right, so that was a quick one, but we're going to go into quick manage here, and hopefully we can come back. We'll see if we can. Quick manage isn't necessarily the best way to go. It's quick, but it's a little hard to win in quick manage, regardless of how good your team is, unless you're like unless you're like the top-rated team or something. So starting off game 3, we got Walker going for us against Eaton to lead things off, and he gets him to fly out. Defo with the walk. We're gonna pick off because that actually really helps out a lot in keeping these guys from stealing any bases. Harper's up and he doubles, so we got second and third, nobody out, one out, excuse me. Soto's up, he pops out, Rendon gets the ground out, so we have escaped a bit of a jam there to start the game. Pollock leading off for us in the bottom of the first, he singles, Escobar with the strikeout, Peralta with the strikeout, Goldschmidt with the strikeout. So not a good start for us either. Shutdown inning right there. Single by Andujar to start the fourth for the Dbacks, but Gregorius flew out. Souza Jr. with the ground out into the forced play. And Schwarber with the single to keep the inning alive. Walker drives in a run. The pitcher with a single. So it's 1-0 Dbacks in the bottom of the fourth. And Pollock adds to it with another RBI single. Escobar with another RBI single. Peralta with the 4th RBI single in a row. It is 4-0. Goldschmidt grounds out to end the inning. So we had a very nice inning there. We're up 4-0 in the 5th. Things are looking good, but the game is not over yet. Moving on to the 6th. Walker gives up a solo shot. It is 4-1 Dbacks still in the 6th inning, and he gets out of the inning without giving up any more runs. Let's pinch hit for him against a lefty. Trying to see who has the best stats versus lefties, and I guess it's Murphy. So we're going to have Murphy with the homer off the bench. We picked the right guy. All right, so it's 5-1 in the bottom of the 6th. D-backs. Pollock with the strikeout. Escobar walks. Goldschmidt with the single to keep the inning alive, and Andujar ends it. All right, got to switch pitchers. Moving into the 7th. Who's up? We got Wieters, the pitcher spot, and Eaton, and then Defoe, Harper. So, all right, so maybe we'll go with Claudio. See if he can get things going. That wasn't a good pick. We got the runner thrown out at home plate though. Pop out, walk, singled in a run, reached on an error. All right, so things are getting a little tight here. Bringing Cishek, walked in a run, struck him out. All right, so we're still alive. We're up 5-3 going to the bottom of the 7th. Gregorius is up first with the single, and we can't really do anything else. All right, so Tulo, who's on the Nationals apparently, facing off against Cishek to start the 8th. He gets the strikeout. Wieters grounds out, and Sano coming on as a pinch hitter strikes out. Pollock cannot get anything going, so it's a quick inning for us in the 9th. And now we're bringing in Bradley. Gets 1, 2, 3 inning, and we are still alive. So moving into game number 4 of the NLDS, we're down 2-1. We got Corbin going for us, I think. Do we have Corbin going? No, we have Ray going for us, excuse me. Ray's going to be starting, going against Roark, I think it said. And yeah, let's get this going. Let's see if we can stay alive here. All right, so Rendon leading off against Ray to start the game, and we start off with a walk. Another walk. Fielder's choice. Singled in a run, so we're down 1-0 to start it off early in the first inning. Pollock, let's see if we can get that run back. 2 singles in a row, and then Goldschmidt grounds into a double play. All right, so Ray with the ground out gets from Tulo. Wieters strikes out, and Roark flies out. So Andujar with the single. Gregorius walks. Souza pops out. Schwarber grounds out, but the runners move up to 2nd and 3rd, and we cannot get them in. Ray is going for one more inning, hopefully gives up a walk to Rendon. Fielder's choice by Defoe. Harper singles. Soto hits into a fielder's choice, and Zimmerman singles in a run. Couldn't quite finish it off. All right, so this is a big moment. Should we move him? Should we take him out? I don't know. Okay, it worked out. Fly out. So he is probably done for the game. We're going to be moving on to the 6th inning, probably bringing another pitcher. Bottom of the 9th, let's see if we can come back. Pollock with the ground out. Escobar with the walk. Peralta struck him out. We're down to our last out of the season. Can Goldschmidt keep it going? He cannot with the strikeout. So the Diamondbacks have been eliminated from the playoffs by the Nationals. But it was a good season. Very good season. You know, they won the division. Couldn't get it going against the Nats. Washington moves on. The Dodgers, unfortunately, move on too. And we'll see who wins in the AL. Boston and Houston. So we got Houston against Boston and the Nationals against the Dodgers. So the Dodgers won. Great. They're in the World Series. And pressing the wrong buttons. Boston's up 3-2. Boston made it to the World Series. So it's a replay of the 2018 World Series. All right. So that works out nicely. So we got Boston and the Dodgers. Let's see who takes it. Boston's up 1-0. It's tied. Boston's up 2-1. It's tied again. Boston's up 3-2. The Red Sox have beaten the Dodgers again in the 2018 World Series. So, a good season for the Boston Red Sox. I actually think Happ is on that team, right? We traded for Eovaldi. So, unfortunate for Eovaldi. But a good move for Happ. Yeah, so we overall had a pretty nice season. You know, ended a little bit prematurely in the playoffs there against the Nationals. But, you know, my thinking is we can come back next year and whether or not we win the division, hopefully make the playoffs and maybe get a little bit deeper than we did this year. Couple nice seasons by a lot of not a couple nice seasons, a lot of nice seasons by a lot of players on the team. Overall, very good year. Hopefully gonna bring a lot of these guys back as long as we can afford it. And you know, next year hopefully will be better, and hopefully we'll be able to get a little closer to that World Series title. But thank you guys for checking this one out. We're going to continue with year 2 in the next video. We'll probably put that one up before we continue with the Miami Marlins rebuild as well. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well, and until the next one, I will see you guys later.